All right, so the Chapter 15, Section 1 and 2 quiz review. The first part of it here, Part 1, can be a bit confusing to do. So let me explain to you how this works. So number one, there are 11 words right here that you are going to create your own sentences where you include that word somewhere in the sentence. But then what I want to make sure that we do also is that somehow in that sentence we include the definition. When we write in nonfiction, kind of like when we read a textbook or some other kind of a nonfiction story, a lot of times the author will introduce us to new terminology or new words that we don't understand. And what they'll do to help us understand that is they'll include the definition in that sentence, so now we know what that new term means. They do that by using what we call context clue connecting words, and we've talked about those in the past. And some of those are, and I have them listed here on your sheet, we can use a comma and then the word or sometimes we just use the comma and then just write the definition. Sometimes we use the word is, that means that what comes after that is what the word means. Known as means. These are all things that when we read those words, we should start to clue in and say, oh, okay, here comes the definition. So, as an example, to set this thing up, I'm going to get my title 15-1 and 2 quiz review, and I've got that set up. And then what I'm going to do for my first one, number 1, is the first word here is clergy. And so I'm going to use clergy in a sentence. So the first thing I want to do is come up with some kind of a random sentence that I'm going to create where I'm going to use the word clergy in it. So let's say the first sentence that I come up with is, many members of the clergy were corrupt during medieval times. Well, there you go. Okay, so I've created a sentence using the word clergy. The problem is, I may not know, based on that sentence, many members of the clergy were corrupt during medieval times, it still doesn't let me know what the word clergy means. And so that's where I'm going to use one of my context clue connecting words. So here's what I'm going to do. I know that the definition of clergy is a group of people who give their lives to serve and work for the church. And so what I'm going to do then is I need to include that definition into my sentence. So once again, my sentence is, many members of the clergy were corrupt during medieval times. So I'm going to start off with many members of the clergy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline the word clergy to show that, yes, I'm using that word clergy into my sentence. Many members of the clergy. Now, this is where I want to add that context clue connecting word. In this case, you know what? I'm just going to use a comma. Comma, and then I'm going to follow that comma with its actual definition. A group of people who give their lives to serve and work for the church, comma, okay, so I'm sticking the definition into my sentence using commas and then writing the definition. So many members of the clergy, comma, a group of people who give their lives to serve and work for the church. So now I've defined clergy, and then I'm going to finish my sentence. Were corrupt during medieval times. So I've used my word. I've included the definition in there for those people who don't know what clergy means, and then I finished off my sentence. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and I'm going to circle my context clue connecting words or punctuation that I used to include that definition in there. Okay? So there's number 1. I'll give you one more example, and then you should be off and running with the rest. So the next word is Pope Leo III. Well, I got to use Pope Leo III in a sentence. I can make up any sentence I want. So I'm going to say, during his reign, Pope Leo III rode his bike to work every day. Not true, okay? But I've used Pope Leo III in a sentence now. During his reign, Pope Leo III rode his bike to work every day. Don't know who Pope Leo III is, other than he's some guy who rode his bike to work every day. So I need to tell you who Pope Leo III was, or why he was important. So I'm going to use a context clue connecting word to do that. So, during his reign, Pope Leo III. Okay, and now I want to tell you who Pope Leo III is to give you a clue. Okay, so I'm going to say, comma, or. I'm going to use the comma or context word connecting clue. And I know that Pope Leo III was the leader of the church who crowned Charlemagne emperor. Okay, so now I know the importance of Pope Leo III, or he's the leader of the church who crowned Charlemagne emperor. Okay, rode his bike to work every day. Okay, so here's Pope Leo III. I'm going to underline that because here's my word. And I connected it with my context clue connecting words, comma, or. So now I know Pope Leo III, he was the leader of the church who crowned Charlemagne emperor. And he rode his bike to work every day. Okay? And then I would keep going. Number 3. And I would keep doing that. I need to include the definition or why that person was important into the sentence that I make up when I'm using that word in a sentence. And that's how you do that first part of the quiz review.